Hi, first of all, I am Arihant, and I am heading the data science and analytics practice at Flexiloans. I joined them as a vice president recently, and taking care of the analytics and AI practice as such. And if I talk about myself a little more about the experience, so I come up with like 10 years plus kind of an experience in the digital lending. Mostly, I worked in multiple industries like telco, uh, IoT, banking, and since last 5 years, it's specifically focused on lending and the fintech side of the thing. So what I'm going to do is I will talk about like couple of main initiatives which we have done across 3 or 4 categories, which is more of the real time use cases rather than talking about the generic knowledge which is available freely on internet, right? Which I think you can anyway, read it on the internet, right? So I will focus on a couple of use cases, like which is very, very interesting, and it kind of worked well for us, in the different, at different projects and different companies as such. So I think if you see digital lending, right, as such, uh, it's a huge market, right? And it's a booming field in India, right? At least since last 3 4 years, I'm sure you guys have heard this term called digital lending, and a lot of banks and BFCs wanting to get into this, right? So fundamentally, if we understand digital lending, right, it's just a simple mechanism of lending loans to the customer digitally, right? And I'm sure you must have heard about loans in 5 seconds, loans in 10 seconds, kind of a thing as well, right? Now people started talking from like there was used to talk in months, then weeks, then days, then hours, then minutes, and now in seconds, right? Now, if you see all this, all this is possible because of multiple things. One of the fundamental thing is again the penetration of internet in India, right? So if you see after 2016, we have seen a huge rise in the data penetration, right? The second reason would be the rise of smartphones, right? In India, right? Which both of this, trust me, is the big enabler for anything, which I'm going to talk about in data science and all. I keep on thinking about it that if these two things were not happened, right, in India, we won't be able to use a lot of data science, analytics, or digital journeys across different products like lending, insurance, etc. Right. So these two things were like very fundamental to it, right? Now, along with that, there is like third part, which I wanted to speak about before I get into the core analytics use cases and all, right? Is the penetration of which in the digital lending world is being called as a DPI, which is called a data for public good. And just a simple example of this would be, I'm sure you all have an Aadhaar cards, right? Now, and I'm sure you guys are aware, right, that there is something called a DigiLocker, and there are APIs around it where you can easily fetch the KYC, which is, let's say, an Aadhaar card and a PAN card, in like less than a second, right, in milliseconds, right, nowadays. So because for giving a loan, right, digitally, you will need the KYC, right? And for that, there are a lot of initiative by government of India across this. If any of you are from this industry, you can relate to me very well, right? Now, this is the fundamental of digital lending, which I talked about, right? Now, let's get into the analytics part of it, right? See, giving a loan digitally without seeing the customer or without, really meeting the customer uh, is was like a distant dream like 10 years back, right? No one has thought about it, right? That it would be possible to sitting in a city like Mumbai and let's say in a tier 2 or tier 3 town and just download an app, right, and take a loan, right? If you see, I have talked about the levers, right, which have helped happening this, right, which is like initiative by government of India, telco growth and all. While we while we won't thank them a lot, but trust me, this is very important to what we are today, right? But the fundamental point where analytics have played a big role got a lot of data, you have got a lot of people on smartphones, you have got a lot of people presence on the web, right? I am pretty sure that out of 24 hours in a day, all of us or most of us are spending, right? If I talk about internet, office work, personal work, more than like 7, 8 hours, right? Bare minimum, right? So we are generating data, right? For different activities, right? And one of the activities where this data is helpful is digital lending, right? Now, if I talk about that, right, what has made it possible that person sitting in a small village downloading an app, right, and applying for a loan, and in a less than a minute or less than a 5 minutes, right, we are able to say that yes, let's give a loans to this particular customer, right? What could be the lever, right? What do you think like about this, right? Anyone wanted to just say anything in chat about it? Like what is the core thing, which has changed through analytics? Like, anyone wanted to just take a guess in the chat? Like, just comment anything, as if you can relate to what I'm saying, it will help me to engage better, right, and give probably a more sharper insights about this. Okay, anyone have any idea? Otherwise, no, I will go ahead and move. Okay, so if we see in this particular way, right, the most important thing for any loan processes or loan thing um, is the underwriting, right? So what I mean by underwriting is that basis all this data, can we create some analytics, right? Some models which tell us that whether this is the right person to give a loan or not. Very simply putting, right? Uh, because without that, someone sitting in the tier 4 or tier 3 city, how give a loan to the customer who is not in front of you? You have not seen what that person is doing, you don't know how that person looks like, etc., etc., right? So this is something which in a digital lending parlance is called as an underwriting, right? And analytics have enabled it to the next level altogether. Trust me on this. Now, if we talk about underwriting, the prime purpose is to figure out the digital lending model, right? To figure out the machine learning model or AI model where we feed in a lot of data, and it is going to give us an output very simply that whether, let's say, this particular customer is a right customer to give a loan. And in a lending industry, when you are giving a loan, right, what is the right customer, right? The right customer is someone who pays you back, right? Otherwise, there is no meaning of lending, right? So this all possible because of the different machine learning models. So if I just talk about some of the machine learning models, and like a lot of classification techniques are being used, like SGBoost kind of technique, random forest. Initially, it was mostly around logistic regression 5, 6 years back, or maybe 8 years back. But once we started seeing random forest kind of a techniques are coming in, right, and people started seeing that a lot of improvements happening in funnel because of that, right? A lot of improvements in accuracy happening because of that, people started adopting it. So now we have a lot of data, right? And this data kind of feed it into this algorithms, right? And this algorithms try to figure out from the historical data which was fed in to train these models, to figure out that if this pattern is visible, right, the probability that will not pay back us, right? Because ultimately, when you're giving a loan, you are giving it with an intent that the customer will pay back, right? So if you see that way, all the different AI techniques, starting from, let's say, logistic regression till the deep learning techniques, right, it played a big role in it, right? That is the first use case and a very prominent use case in the industry. Just to give you a fact, right, just think about the power of all this. There are like more than 10,000 fintechs in India as we speak, right? It's all possible because of this kind of intelligence is available. All these algorithms are available in an open source world where people are creating companies, people are using this to provide the loans to the customer using this powerful technology called AI or machine learning, for that matter, right? The second, important thing to think about is, and where the AI plays a big role, right? you get a lot of documents virtually, right? Or digitally, basically, I will say. Like, for example, uploading photos, right? Customers are giving Aadhaar cards, customer are giving PAN cards, right? Customers are giving bank statements, right? Now, if you talk about, you are getting the photos, right, from the customers, like when customer is uploading a selfie, you got a face of the customer, right? You have an Aadhaar which have a photo, right? You have a PAN card which have a photo, right? Now, you have a people who is checking that all these three photos are same or not, right? Or you do something through machine learning or AI which kinds of figure out the similarity between these photos, right? So let's say if I started applying for a loan, right, I uploaded myself. Now from a Aadhaar and from a pen, I can do a photo match, with, let's say, which is saying 70% match, 80% match, 90% match, right? Again, you have to train a similarity models for it. For that matter, AWS, Google, Azure have different APIs also where they have pre-trained all this. But just think about it, right? It's very easy that now we don't need people, to really see that the photo in the Aadhaar versus in PAN versus the customer provided photo is same or not, right? So again, how this has happened, someone has trained the machine by showing multiple faces, right? And try to figure out the similarities between these photos, right? Again, of course, this all may sound like basic because we are in the era of chat GPTs, right? But this all small things, right? If I talk about one more use case, right, which is very critical to a lot of industries, right? You get a name, right, on different documents, like Aadhaar have some name, PAN have different name, bank statements have a names. All these names, which is the text strings, you order to match them. Again, a very basic use case of NLP, right? You can do fuzzy matches, you can train a good models over there, etc., etc., right? One more thing, which is pertaining to AI, which is heavily used in the lending world, is where you wanted to understand that the customer who is giving his PAN card is the one who is applying for a loan, right? How you will be able to figure it out, right? Because someone can stole all this, let's say your documents, right? And apply for a loan on the behalf of you. So there is something called a liveliness score, right, from the image. What this means, right? This means that by you ask customer to on the camera, right, and come in front of a the front camera, customer to speak something, right, or you ask customer to open his eyes and show the photo, right, and you try to create a liveliness score. So from 0 to 100, like, you can train the algorithms, right, to figure out the liveliness score. So what the liveliness score indicates is that the person sitting in real, like me, the way I am talking right now to you, is a real guy who is sitting and taking the loan, right? Or let's say in my case, I'm talking to you. If someone tries to show a photo, right? So let's say if I take an Aadhaar photo, crop it, right, and show it to machine, it will figure out that it's not a live image. And this is really when you are digitally lending, because there are certain possibilities where people misuse the systems to do the frauds and other illegal activities. Again, how this is possible to calculate a liveliness score, right? You have gone through tons of images, right? Have passed them through different neural network models and trained models there, or let's say classification models as well, because you have manually uh, sure. Okay, so this are all possible because of the training which has been done using this algorithm. Trust me, I think I can keep going on and on, but I think in next 2-3 minutes, probably I will just try to summarize and then open up for a Q&A. Because I think if you have any specific questions in mind regarding to the AI, machine learning, deep learning use cases in the world of finance or digital lending per se, I'll be happy to answer that. So I think, like, I honestly feel that this is just we are just scratching the surface. There is a lot more to happen, and I am very passionate about this industry, and the power of this algorithms, the democratization which is happening in the open AI and data world, specifically if I talk from an Indian context, a lot of activities are happening, a lot of data, new data sets are coming, a lot of new experiments people are running, not only in the lending, but if you see the other sectors like insurance, wealth sector, right, manufacturing sector, and all that, right? So it's just becoming much important and urgent, for us to adopt these technologies and really create a competitive edge for our companies which we are working for, as well as for ourselves as a personal a personal path towards learning all these new things, right? So I think three four things which I talk about are the most important in the world of digital lending specifically. While there may be hundreds of use cases, right? But trust me, these three things which I talked about, three or four things, something which is basic to any digital lending unit. Without this, you won't be able to, start, or you won't be able to kick off a good fintech product as such in the market, right? So with this, I think I will take a pause, right? I will probably wanted to take a pause and just open up for a Q&A. If you have any kind of a Q&A around this, around AI, machine learning, even lending side, uh, please feel free to ask, right?
Yes. Do anyone has any queries?
Yeah, exactly, Ritesh. I think my context of saying India is just a reference, but yeah, it's all over the place. Uh, I agree with you. Okay, I think cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this, and thanks team for inviting me. Yeah, thank you guys, thank you very
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arihant,
thank you.
for your valuable insights. Yeah.